All right, guys, let's move on to this topic here, which is, something that has been going around recently and something that I just wanted to dig into and give my thoughts on because I think it's super interesting. So Robert Downey Jr., for those of you who don't know, has returned to the MCU. Not necessarily now. I mean, he hasn't appeared in anything since Avengers Endgame, but he is returning to the MCU as Dr. Victor Von Doom. Now, one of the things that we haven't really gotten insights into is why this happened. What motivated Robert Downey Jr. to come back? And it looks like we won't know the very specific answers, but he did some interviews recently and he gave some quotes and he talked a little bit about his thought process and the process of bringing himself back to the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And I wanted to just, let's do a little bit of reading here, a little more reading than we usually do on the channel. And I want to read out some paragraphs here, some quotes that I think will help explain what he was thinking about and how he was thinking about this decision to come back to Marvel. So there are two big quotes that I want to read here, and then we'll kind of talk about what they mean. So let's look at this first quote, look at the second quote, talk about it, and then we will kind of give some overall thoughts. First of all, he says here, quote, "I had this instinct that I wanted to go to Bob Iger, and I had an idea outside of the cinematic universe for how I could be of service to what's going on in the theme parks," Downey explained. "My wife, Susan, and I were sitting down with Feige, and he said, it just keeps occurring to me that if you were to come back, ... And Susan was like, wait, come back as what?" So here's what's interesting. First of all, what he talked about in this interview is that he and Kevin Feige have been maintaining a lot of contact. He and Kevin Feige have been, kind of close, and he's admitted that he's, close with Kevin Feige. I think he talks to Bob Iger somewhat. He's close with these people. They know him. It's not like he just completely pieced out and that was it for Robert Downey Jr. in the MCU. It looked like he was genuinely trying to do something in the theme parks, and it wasn't just like he wanted nothing to do with Marvel as soon as he was done with his role as Iron Man. So it's also interesting to hear that Kevin Feige, as early as whenever this meeting took place, which I have to imagine is maybe a year or so ago, even a few, at the very least a few months ago, it's interesting that Kevin Feige himself was thinking, okay, maybe there is some avenue that Robert Downey Jr. can come back as Iron Man. Or maybe just come back as in general, right? Like, I think it's interesting that, he says his wife was completely off guard, but Feige was already thinking about what is a good way for you to come back to the MCU. So that's also really interesting when we're laying the groundwork right there. So again, just laying the groundwork for the context of why he was meeting with Kevin Feige and what was going on there in the beginning. Just to be clear, not that I think Robert Downey Jr. is lying to any of us, but these are things that obviously he can say, but things could have been, different, or things he might not be talking about all the details. He might be omitting certain things. So I just wanted to keep that in mind that, maybe, in the back of his mind, he also was talking, or he was thinking he wanted to come back, and maybe he had even talked to Feige before this particular meeting about the parks or whatever. So just wanted to clarify. He seems like a pretty honest guy in these interviews, especially post MCU, I guess, phase 1, chapter 1 of his MCU career as Iron Man, where he was very tight-lipped about all the spoilers and whatnot. But, you never know, right? You never know. It's this second quote here that I want to talk about. And there's more in this interview. You can check it out in other articles. But it's the second quote here that I wanted to focus on, as he says, quote, Kevin said, "How can we not go backwards? How can we not disappoint expectations?" And by the way, this is me talking. This is, now them really contemplating what does a return to the MCU look like. So just wanted to clarify that. Okay, let's get back to the quote. Quote, "How can we continue to beat expectations?" And he brought up Victor Von Doom. And I looked into this character and I was like, wow. Later on, Kevin, he goes, "Let's get Victor Von Doom right." So this is interesting because I think that it's this kind of idea of, Kevin Feige presenting him with this option of, okay, how do we come back to the MCU in a way that feels respectful, that feels like it's not just looking back into the past, but also looking forward into the future and finding this right future movement for you as an actor and also for this character that we want to bring to life. Because it looked like, to me, right, that, I'm sure that there were options that were brought about that, said, hey, maybe we do Iron Man again. Maybe we do bring you back. But they've all been very clear and specific in saying that we are not going to just bring Iron Man back for the sake of bringing Iron Man back. And so I think that, look, it's a very delicate conversation, obviously, that you have to have. And I think that Kevin Feige was asking the right questions. How can we not go backwards? How can we not disappoint expectations? How can we continue to beat expectations? And while he doesn't go into specifics, and first of all, he says Victor Von Doom. So let's be clear, this is Victor Von Doom. He doesn't say Tony Stark variant. He doesn't say Victor. He doesn't say Doom. He says Victor Von Doom. That's his actual name, right? That's his given name. Because Doctor Doom is the character's, sort of Latvian supervillain title. But Victor Von Doom is his actual name. So that is the character. In whatever capacity, you can check out other videos on the YouTube channel. For example, I talk about, why Robert Downey Jr.'s return is so perfect, or it could be so perfect. And I talk about all the reasons and all the explanations of what he could be doing in the MCU. But yeah, I think that, he's playing Victor Von Doom. Who knows what he was pitched by Kevin Feige? Who knows what they talked about? But it seemed like they got really excited about this idea that's moving forward, and that's really what I wanted to focus on here. Is because this is an actor who doesn't just do things for the sake of doing things. He's rich beyond compare. He has so much money. And, maybe he's doing, obviously he's getting a huge chunk of money for these movies as well. But again, I just happen to think, and I hope that I'm right about this, that it's not just about, money or doing another Avengers movie just because he's bored, but because he really found an idea. And this article mentions he's an Oscar winner now, right? He can do whatever he wants. And what is he doing? He's coming back to the MCU as Doctor Doom. So, I think that this really speaks to the idea that Robert Downey Jr. saw a great idea here, one that wouldn't tarnish his legacy, one that wouldn't tarnish the legacy of Marvel. And he said, let's go for it. And for me, while I still have a lot of questions about how they're going to pull this off, I have a lot of questions about what Victor Von Doom is going to look like in this next iteration. I also have faith that they are really looking at this holistically. They're looking at this in a way that makes sense to them and doesn't ruin the legacy of Tony Stark, and I think that is a good thing. So let me know in the comments down below what you think about Robert Downey Jr.'s quotes as he returns to the MCU as Victor Von Doom, and let me know what you think about that.